I always tell people that it's not about how many subscribers you have. It's about how much money you make if you want to become a full-time content creator. Just because subscriber counts is like a vanity metric, right? But if you can show that like your audience and your fans are engaged with you, then you're able to monetize that, because you're able to do maybe throw an ad in there and be like, hey, this is a really good product. I think you guys would like it because it's within my niche. It's a pair of shoes. It's a pair of clothes. It's a branded content in that sort of way that's relevant. And, you know, brands want eyeballs and stuff like that. So I always try to say it's not about how much, if your goal is to become a full-time creator, it shouldn't be about how many subscribers you have.
So you're filming more YouTube videos?
Yes.
How long have you been doing YouTube now?
A little over 5 years.
It's a long journey.
Yeah, it's a long journey. It's a grind, but it you know, it starts off as fun, and it's still fun to do to this day. But you know, it sort of graduates into, at least it did for me, into like a job. Now it's like, you know, you take things a little bit more seriously, and you know, you got to be more consistent. And I think that there's a little bit more pressure, I would say, to really like, you know, take up the bar and, you know, work harder and increase views and do all that kind of stuff. So
it's a constant grind, though.
Yeah, it's the grind. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you constantly feel like you got to be doing something, you know, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. It's like this constant feeling of like having to post and to post, you know.
Well, Bryson Moore,
yes.
Welcome to the Gents Talk podcast.
Happy to be here.
How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm doing better now, talking to you guys for sure. Yeah.
So you do a lot of cool things in the space of content creation. You're more recognized as Bryce Kicks.
Yes.
On Instagram.
Yes.
Is that the YouTube handle as well?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So why sneakers? Let's start there.
Yeah. So sneakers was something that I sort of gained an interest in through my cousins. So I have a large family. My mom is one of 10 kids, and I have a lot of first cousins, and a lot of them are older than me, and I naturally just kind of looked up to them. They were always like the cool, you know what I mean? The cool older cousins, you know? And they always just had like fresh kicks on, and I would always be like curious, like ask them like, oh, what are those? You know, what are you wearing? You know? And they, you know, it'd be whichever, you know, name, Air Jordan, Nike, Adidas, you know. And eventually, after keeping asking about what they were wearing, one of my cousins, Aaron, was just like, okay, well, let me show you the shoes that I have. So he grabbed my hand. We go to his room, and it's got like floor to ceiling stacked with sneaker boxes. And he would pull out a shoe and open them up and be like, oh, this is the Air Jordan 17, and it comes in a briefcase, and you click it open like it's a money case, and it opens up, and there's a CD inside, and there's a peel-off sticker, and I was just like, holy crap, this is so cool. So, you know, ever since then, it was just like I wanted a fresh pair of sneakers, and, you know, from there, it, you know, sort of evolved, but still at this time, you know, I'm probably around, you know, 12 or 13. I don't have a job. I'm not working. And as most kids, it's you get your one pair of shoes a year, you know. But since then, my interest and passion for shoes grew, and I started looking online to sort of research more about shoes. And that's where like the obsession began, is when I found the community online.
High tops or low tops do you like?
I like both, but I like high tops. For me, I don't know what it is. Like, I just like how they sit with jeans in a way, depending on the type. But you know, it depends on the day. I feel like in the summertime, I wear more low top sneakers.
I feel like, low tops go better with it shorts. High tops with pants.
Yeah, and I'm short. I'm only 5'7", so you know, any excuse I can make myself to look taller, I'll do that.
Okay, so you're also a content creator.
Yes.
There's a lot of work that's involved in constantly putting out content.
That's correct.
Yeah. Walk us through, like, how do you even get to the level of, I'm going to start a YouTube page, and then you've surpassed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, correct. And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
As a couple of guys trying to grow a YouTube page, it's fucking hard as shit.
It's difficult, yeah.
Yeah, so how do you walk us through that concept? And I think a lot of people just want to know, one, can you actually make money on YouTube? Can you turn it into a living? Like, how does that process happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had mentioned in my story earlier how I found my passion really grew when I found the online community. So as you can imagine, lots of sneakerheads online chatting about shoes. And one of the ones that I sort of took an interest to most was, of course, on YouTube. You go on YouTube and there's all kinds of like shoe reviews and sneaker reviews and people talking about footwear. So I started watching those videos, and it was a good education for me because that's kind of what I learned. Oh, this shoe does this and this shoe does that. And, you know, for basketball, you know, performance is obviously a big thing. So there's a lot of like performance basketball shoe reviews and stuff like that. So I would always watch these videos because a lot of the times they were people within my age group, you know, and I would always just be like, oh, why can't I do that? You know, why can't I talk about shoes online? And, you know, I would kind of shoot myself down. Maybe it was low self-esteem, you know, I'm only like 14, 15 at this time. But, you know, I always just found an excuse not to start doing it myself. And then eventually, you know, I got a job and I started working. I had a little bit of money, and so I'm buying shoes, you know, pretty regularly, I would say. And so eventually I was just like, you know what? My dad, he's been into photography for a long time. He's got a camera. I'm like, you know what? Today's the day. February 2018, I'm going to set up a camera, set up a tripod, no microphone, no nothing. I didn't know anything about how to shoot video. And I was like, today's the day I'm going to just review this pair of shoes that I have. And it was a pair of the OVO Air Jordan 8s. There was a black and gold pair of shoes. And I was like, yeah, I'll just take this opportunity to review with any kind. I had a hoodie, OVO t-shirt. So I was like, oh, I'll just kind of talk about it. So that's kind of where it started. Half the video's out of focus. There's no microphone. It's terrible. It's still up on my page if you guys want to watch it. I recommend you don't, but just know that I've gotten a lot better since then.
That shows like the growth, right?
Yeah, it shows the growth. So and then that's kind of where I caught the itch of awesome. You know, I uploaded that first video, and I kind of just one other key thing I wanted to mention during this time is that I had started a few other passion projects that I had quit. I tried to teach myself how to learn Portuguese, or not teach myself, but I was taking studying classes, tried to teach myself how to play the drums, and I quit both of those things. And I said to myself that if I'm going to even do this, I'm going to have to commit a few years, at least 5 years. And if I have nothing to show for at the end of those 5 years, or if I'm not passionate about it at all, then I will quit. Yeah. And so before he even started that first video, I was like, if I'm even going to do this, I have to be serious about it. And that's kind of where it all started.
You said February. Do you remember the day? The number?
February 28th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about the second one?
The second video was probably a week or two later.
Okay.
And, you know, the rhythm at which you post, I think, on YouTube is important because there's obviously an algorithm that a lot of people have heard of. And I feel like it picks up on, you know, through AI and stuff like that of how regular you post. And, you know, YouTube is not something that you have to do every day. You don't have to post every day. But, you know, it does reward consistency in one way or another. And so I kind of early on tried to make a video, whether it was good or bad. I tried to post once a week, and that's still what I do to this day.
I got a question for you. There's a lot of creators out there that are on YouTube trying to grow it.
Yeah.
Us being one of them.
Yeah.
How do you hit 100,000 subscribers? What's
How long
the secret?
did it take you to hit 100,000?
What's the secret to like?
The secret? Ooh, okay, so the secret is that there is no secret. You kind of just have to like post consistently and pick up on patterns that work. And one thing I would definitely say is choose like a niche that people are, you know, like an existing niche that's popular, I would say. And it could be anything. It could be cooking videos, it could be music, it could be reviews, reactions. Like do something that people are interested in viewing. If it's the more obscure it is, the more difficult it can be. So that would be one thing. Post consistently is obviously another. But also there's a couple of things that I have found success in, especially recently, that has helped me grow and get more views. And thumbnails is obviously a big one. And the way that the thumbnail is designed, it plays an important role. And there's actually data that Netflix has shown and shared based off of the thumbnails of their shows and movies that they have that say that whenever there's a close-up of a face that shows a complex emotion, people are typically more inclined to click on it, and as opposed to one that people are just kind of drawn to faces and eyes. So I know Mr. Beast has also said that you should see like the whites of people's eyes in the thumbnail. So when depending on the type of video that I do, if it's a talking head video especially, I try to show like a face of my face, but like the neck up, and so that my full head is in the frame. And it's just one of those things that people are kind of just drawn to, and you really are competing in one way, shape, or another with other videos that are on people's YouTube homepage, because you want your video to get clicked on. YouTube wants your video to get clicked on, but because of the competition, they want to serve you the right video at the right time. So that's thumbnails are a big thing, but also ultimately like the quality of the content, the editing style. There really is like a lot that kind of goes into it. But like content is king, and you got to try to do meaningful, value-driven content. And another one of my bread and butter that I've always done since day one is that I always try to make searchable videos. And what that means is YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world next to Google, and Google owns YouTube. So making content that people are actively searching for is going to be a good passive way for people to discover your videos. And so what I mean by that is, especially with my niche, given that it's sneakers and clothing, if there is a trending topic or a trending sneaker, I try to make content around that, because people are going online to talk about it or to search or to learn more about it. Maybe they want to know what's the sizing like. Maybe they want to know maybe the backstory, just to give you out a few examples. So this way, when people go onto Google or go onto YouTube and they type in Nike Air Force One, one of my videos shows up, because I have a number of them, and maybe it's a styling video. That's kind of my bread and butter, is like how to style X sneaker. So though there's a lot of information I just shared, but those are kind of the pillars, is that like good thumbnail, good quality content, post consistently, and be in a proven niche that people are actively searching for.
What about the title?
Title's important, title's good. But I don't put as much emphasis in the title as I do. I just feel like it's you can actually learn more about the video based on the thumbnail than the actual title itself. Title is good in my opinion. I'm no YouTube expert, but in my opinion, it's good for an SEO perspective, like search engine. Like those keywords that people are typing in on YouTube and Google. I think it's good for that, along with the other like metadata that you put in like the description and stuff like that, and the tags. But one thing I would say that is a good tip for, like I said, it all depends on your niche, but for titles, people like top 5, people like, oh, this is the top 10, people like lists. So like, if you can try to, like, depending on your niche, if you could try to frame your video like that, I find that typically works. But title, I don't put as much, in title is important, but I put more emphasis into the others.
And how long did it take you to grow to 100?
How long did it take me?
What are you at right now?
120, 122, I think.
Can you send like maybe 5,000 over?
Yeah, sure. It's tough. It definitely is. But one thing that's good is for long form content. Like YouTube is a long form. People are always like, oh, short form,
Yeah.
But people who go onto YouTube oftentimes are have a little bit of time. Like you gotta have to think of like the psychology of someone who's going on YouTube. If people are walking on the street, they're more likely to be scrolling through Instagram or TikTok than they are to be sitting and watching like if you picture somebody's commute, like that would be a good time for somebody to watch a YouTube video, because they have time, you know what I mean? And for me, I'm a podcast junkie, so like I'm constantly looking for long form content because I have it on in the background at home. And when I'm driving in the car, I like to listen to podcasts. So long form is good. That's how, you can definitely get a lot of audience retention. And I've noticed that when a lot of creators start YouTube, there's 2 things that they need to get monetized, and that's a certain subscriber count, which is 1,000, and also you need a certain amount of watch time hours. And so a lot of people struggle with the second, which is to get good watch time hours, because their content maybe isn't long enough, or they're not retaining enough people on their videos. But yeah, long form content is definitely good. I got to 100,000 this past November. So,
and you started in 2018.
And I started in 2018.
Which I think highlights that it's a journey. It's not a journey. Quick overnight thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with YouTube. I met a few YouTube people that are very successful on YouTube. Same thing, like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And
consistently, yeah. That's a big thing. Like taking a couple months off, like...
I feel like TikTok's ruined it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That, like instant virality that people are now chasing
But there is a good sign. There is like a silver lining to all of this, and that is YouTube Shorts. So YouTube now has short form content, right? Like you can, and I typically, for me personally, I do upload YouTube Shorts, and I've seen success with them, which is excellent. It's very hit or miss. But I personally don't like scroll through the YouTube Shorts feed. If I do that, it's either Reels or TikTok. But they are getting billions and billions of views on YouTube Shorts. So that's it. Don't discredit it. The good thing is that like as a content creator, especially with YouTube, if you are creating YouTube video, chances are, not everybody, but chances are you're also doing Instagram, you're also doing TikTok, right? So you can use those TikTok and Instagram videos that you've made and upload them to YouTube. And so I have like one of my top 10, I would say, most watched videos out of the hundreds that I've posted. A lot, there's a few of them I think that are YouTube Shorts. So they're more difficult to monetize. In fact, February of this year, they just started monetizing Shorts. But even then, like you're not making a lot of money off of it. And that's another thing with YouTube creators as well, is that I always tell people that it's not about how many subscribers you have. It's about how much money you make if you want to become a full-time content creator. Just because subscriber counts is like a vanity metric, right? But if you can show that like your audience and your fans are engaged with you, then you're able to monetize that because you're able to do maybe throw an ad in there and be like, hey, this is a really good product. I think you guys would like it because it's within my niche. It's a pair of shoes. It's a pair of clothes. It's a branded content in that sort of way that's relevant. And, the brands want eyeballs and stuff like that. So I always try to say it's not about how much, if your goal is to become a full-time creator, shouldn't be about how many subscribers you have, because there's a lot of people that have more subscribers than me that probably aren't making as much, and there's also people who have way less subscribers than me who are making more money than me. Maybe they have a course that's maybe they have really valuable content and they have a course that they sell for $500, and if 1,000 people buy a course for for $500, then you've got a legitimate business, right? Yeah. So it's never about how much how many followers you have, and that's how you really go down that mental health rabbit hole of like, oh, I need to like get more. I need to get more followers.
Slope.
Yeah, and you start checking it and refreshing it, and it's fun when something hits, but it's also like
the lull, it's like waves too. It's like you hit the lull, it's just like, this is never gonna go up ever again, and then it's like yes,
then it's never going down.
We've had those talks a few times. Like, why are we stuck at this number?
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
No.
Facebook. What about Facebook? You didn't mention Facebook at all, and I heard Facebook's making a big comeback.
Facebook, there has to come like a passion. Like I like to go onto TikTok, so I go on TikTok. I like to go onto Instagram, so I do Instagram. I love YouTube. I go on YouTube. I don't go on Facebook.
Fair.
So for me, it's like
it's got to be something you actually want.
It's got to be something but I do keep hearing a lot about Facebook. But I don't know. It's just not something that I have tried yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've done it in the past, and nothing really happened. So I kind of moved on from it.
Do you find that you can monetize the other platforms like Instagram and TikTok in the same way you monetize? Like, from my experience, YouTube seems to be the clearest path towards monetization.
YouTube
is very obvious. Do this, you start getting paid.
Yeah.
Instagram and TikTok, it's almost like you got to go and solicit partnerships outside the app.
I would agree with that. YouTube, in my opinion, is the best social media platform just because the amount of detailed analytics you get is incredible for free. And you're able to have YouTube ad revenue, like that can be a sustainable source of income. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's reliable. It's there for you. You know what I mean? Where like you if you're a Canadian creator, like you can't even earn money off of not ad revenue through clicks and views. On TikTok and Instagram. In American creators, earn a certain percentage or a certain, I think it's like maybe 1 cent or 3 cents per 1,000 views on a TikTok. But in Canada, they haven't even introduced that platform yet. Wow. So you are kind of forced to do branded content. So that's one of those things as well. But another monetization strategy that I think not enough people are talking about is doing like freelance work. And what I mean by that is, working for a brand and creating content for them that you don't necessarily have to post. And so I do that with Amazon, and they're a really good partner of that I work with, and they're very consistent, and they pay well, which is great. But I post a certain amount of videos with them that I don't even have to post. So like they take the content and they're like, okay, we'll do with it. We'll do with it. We'll figure out what to do with it.
How does someone go about acquiring a partnership like that? Like, do they reach out to you? Do you have to go and seek them out? Because I think a lot of creators, especially ones that are starting in this space, are unsure of where to even begin.
I get that question asked a lot.
Is there a secret group that I need to be a part of?
No, the short answer is that it kind of does come naturally, like it organically. Like, they send you an email, they come to you kind of thing. But don't be discouraged with reaching out to people and, being like, hey, I would love to work. But one thing I would just say is focus on the value proposition, right? Like, for you to be like, hey, I would love to make a video for you for $2,000. It's like, okay, slow your roll. Like, we haven't even met each other yet, And a lot of brands probably don't even check their DMs, but don't be discouraged by it. Build a relationship. And, we all know, I'm sure, well, not we all know, but Gary Vee is another guy who's prominent on social media, gives a lot of, advice on creators, and, do work for free. Be like, hey, I would love to style your products, or use one of your products, talk to one of your products for free. Would you mind sending it to me? I'll send it back to you. You know what I mean? And this way, there's no risk. There's no risk on the brand's or the other creator's perspective. You know what I mean? So, So I don't know. That's one of the keys that I would say. But a lot of the times, it does come through the inbox of them messaging you. So it's good to also have your email in your bio and your whichever email buttons that they have on each app, so that people can contact you, because that's big.
If you could go back in time and tell younger Bryson some advice when you were first starting on YouTube and some of these other platforms, what advice would you give him?
Like, start earlier? No. If I could give myself some advice, I think I would say when I first started, I was all over the place in terms of my content style. Yeah. I did a vlog, I did a review, I did a day in the life, I did a podcast, I did a this, I did a that. Like, just focus on one thing and just get good at that first. So for me, it's like styling videos, like 10 ways to style Air Force Ones. Boom. Like, do that for every shoe then. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I think Casey Neistat is one of those guys who like popularized vlogs, but in my opinion, vlogs are kind of tricky to monetize. Like, starting a vlog channel right now is very difficult.
People got to know who you are.
People got to know who you are first, and that's why creating searchable videos are a good way for people to discover you. And then I would say down the line, vlogs are good for like they're good for like getting to know you, but at first people don't really want to get to know you. They're what value are you getting? What value am I getting from this video? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a good community building. That's the word I was looking for. Like, building, engaging and doing that kind of stuff. If you can manage both simultaneously, then do your thing. Like, that's amazing. But I would say focus on a specific type of content first, because I was all over the map, I think YouTube also rewards that as well.
Like being more niche.
Like being more niche, covering larger, more popular topics than kind of being all over the place. Because once again, if you want to monetize and get 1,000 followers, subscribers, and get that audience retention, like, that's a good way to do that. Is to when people subscribe to you, like, give them something to expect, so that they're like, okay, I know that you'll do this early on. I would say that'd be a key.
How are you at a point now where like YouTube is full time?
Yeah, I'm a full-time creator. Yeah.
Nice. Was that once you hit the 100,000 or before that?
It was before. It was. So this past March would be a year that I become a full-time creator.
Oh, very cool.
And it was a little bit scary at first. It was like, ooh, this is like the leap of faith, Like, I'm like a lot of people. I went to school. I had a degree. I had a job.
What did you go to school for?
I went to school for communications at University of Toronto, Mississauga. So, that would be another thing, another piece of advice, like do something in YouTube, do like production or, because part of my program, I had to take classes at Sheridan College, and Sheridan has a good production and video, program. And I would have, going back, I would have loved to do that. That would help me out a lot better. Probably give me more of the confidence as well.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too, is you're not just sitting in front of a camera worrying about coming up with the content. It's the managing of the equipment and the editing.
Which I've taught myself everything.
Right. So like that's a whole thing on its own.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, forget that that's part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. But saying that, if you're a creator starting out, use your iPhone. I am using my phone way more than I used to, and I have camera gear, I have lights, and so use your phone. Your phone is so good. You can get such a good cheap Bluetooth microphone that works wonders. It's great, and if you need lighting, just go outside or stand in front of a window or something. No, but it really is
DIY
it really is as simple as that.
Yeah.
And my setup is still DIY because where I create is where I live. And so I live in a 600 square foot condo, and, I share the space with somebody else. So it's
Toronto, baby.
It's very
$7,000 a month.
So it's difficult. You kind of have to finesse it a bit. There's a lot of finessing, but like in the frame, it looks nice. Yeah. It's neat and tidy, but behind the frame, it's a disaster. Yeah. So,
how often are you creating? You said earlier that I think before we started rolling that today you were either doing some editing or you're going to be doing some editing.
No, I was editing. I've been editing since like 7:30 this morning. Okay. If I have like a time crunch or like it's like moment I wake up, it's boom, I'm good to go. Which I've heard like isn't good. You should kind of like wake up and like go outside first, but I don't know. Well,
I've seen other creators talk about how they've had to take some time off.
Yeah.
Because it's overwhelming in the sense of there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
And the entrepreneurial side of this whole hustle is a very real thing. I think in a traditional sense, people don't typically think of content creators as entrepreneurs, but you very much are. You're your own marketing department, your own HR department, your own finance department, and all these things. Yeah. So editor, director, producer, actor, you name it. So you're doing all these things. How do you balance all of that?
So to answer to take a quick step back, like creating every day, like it really is like an everyday thing. But how am I balancing it all? Like just trial and error, like making mistakes, asking questions for people that, other creators, how did you do this? How did, especially for when I became full-time, I had to like first have a couple conversations with my accountant and be like, hey, like, what does this look like if I'm self-employed? Because, I had to incorporate my business, right? So there is a Bryce Kicks Inc. That's, a business that I have to, claim income and like do all that kind of stuff, right? So do the expenses and all that. So, it's just asking questions. And one thing I think that did help me is that my sister is also a creator as well. And she she became full-time a little bit earlier than I did. So, we've been able to bounce things off of each other.
Oh, that helps.
It helps a lot, especially when it's your sister and, it's just a quick phone call away. Yeah. So, but, I've asked other creators and, ones that are much, much bigger than mine, like, how are you managing this? And, one thing that I think is tremendous help is try to leverage as many people and relationships as you can early on. And, get their cosign or, if try to become friendly with them so that they would be gracious enough to share that information with you because it is valuable. And who knows, like if you're a small time creator and you start working with someone who's big and you start getting featured in the videos, that is by far the quickest way to grow is to have more eyeballs on you. So
to get featured in their video.
Yeah, if that's possible, but that's it's challenging to do. But
Can you do collabs of that nature on YouTube where it draws back to your page?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, it would have to be sort of like, hey, this is so-and-so, and this regular content that I do, they're going to help me out with it, or they're going to be featured in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It would be great. It would be such a good idea if YouTube did that Instagram
like
collab feature. Yeah. That would be so good.
Which I'm surprised not other platforms do that.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
It's insane to me because it's such
social media
easy win.
It's such a collaborative thing.
It's such a mutual win-win for everybody, right?
Yeah. And I just ran into this problem a couple weeks ago. 3 friends of mine, We wanted to create some content together, some Instagram photos, videos, whatever, and we did so. And
Cool posts.
you can only collaborate with one other person, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, one of us is gonna have to be tagged, or like, you know.
And that's so unfortunate because sometimes you
Yeah.
create that type of content, you can't even use it in the way
Yeah.
you want to.
But, you know, I understand it. I guess, like, you know, from Instagram's perspective, they have to fit a certain amount of usernames on that little bar at the top. So they're probably like, oh, we can only do 2 right now. So, in my opinion, Instagram, as much as I love Instagram for many years, I use it all the time. I think they're by far like they're not struggling, but they're dragging behind the most between the two. I think TikTok leaped over them, and I think TikTok is killing it, even though they have some, you know, sketchy, you know, privacy policy. But I think that, you know, in terms of retaining people, the other two are doing a much better job.
I remember you said you start off, get your iPhone. You know, you didn't mention Android, but we can get to that later. But
Nobody uses an Android except for you.
I've heard of those.
I love my Android.
Get off those green
So
texts,
you started
man.
the top 5 best phones list. But what are some like must-have apps that you should have?
Yeah, so there's a lot of free editing apps that you can use. I use InShot for mobile specifically, and it's very simple, very intuitive, very easy to use. You literally just, you know, put up your videos. You can do splice. You can, you know, CapCut is another good one. CapCut's kind of killing it right now.
Are these
They're really good.
Are these
yeah.
editing apps you're talking about?
Yeah, these are editing apps. Sorry. Yeah, so you know what?
CapCut, I think, is they've got some weird integration with TikTok now, where it's like everything leads you to CapCut.
Whatever deal they worked out is brilliant. But so instead of InShot, I think I would use CapCut more. But because they have this really good like captions feature, and captions is a lot of things is like another thing that is a good way to sort of retain people a little bit longer. Just because, you know, some people may be in a public place where they can't listen to, you know, maybe they're at work and they're at a desk and they just have a quick 5 minutes to, you know, pull up their phone. So using captions on any sort of talking head video is like a good way to, you know, get people to stay because they, you know, they can read and as opposed to listen. I've been sort of trying to experiment that on YouTube, but I haven't really. We
do captions for all of our shorts.
Yeah, that's good. But with YouTube, I've been doing it just involuntarily, like show the things up at the bottom. But I don't know, it's kind of weird. I feel like if somebody's watching one of my YouTube videos specifically, it's like they're kind of having the time. They're in like an ambient place where they can hear it.
Yeah.
You know. But it's also good for English as a second language or you know, people who aren't English, hearing impaired as well. Mr. Beast is I keep mentioning him because he's like the model person to form any YouTube content over. But he's got multiple different YouTube channels in different languages. Yeah. So, you know, that's a brilliant idea. So maybe I'll do that one day.
I remember hearing about that. I'm like, genius.
He like hired translators. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So it's still the actual video, but just with almost like a voiceover.
That's correct. It's dubbed. But a lot, like, I feel like because of Netflix and a lot of those shows that are dubbed, people are like Squid Games and Money Heist. Like people are kind of getting used to it now. So it could be a good thing, you know.
I don't like the dubs. I hate dubs. I love subtitles because I
prefer subtitles.
I can't focus when the lips are moving at a different thing in the sound.
You know when it gets me the most is when it's somebody who you know or you know what they sound like. Yeah. And it's a different voice. It's like, no, I can't do that.
I can't do this.
My fiance was watching the Cristiano Ronaldo has a show, and his wife has a show on Netflix. And he was featured in it, and he's featured in the first episode. And as soon as like we were watching it dubbed, and as soon as he started speaking, they dubbed his voice, I was like, nah, I can't do this. Like put up the
subtitles.
You know, put up the subtitles because it's just weird.
How does AI play a role in all this?
So AI does play a role for some people, and I think it's going to develop over time. Mm-hmm. But I've actually used AI once because it was late at night, and I was scripting a video, and I'm like, my brain's mush right now, like. I kind of just want to, like, I want to talk about this specific shoe, but, like, I just can't think right now. So I was like, tell me about the, you know, just the Adidas Samba. Like, here's the history of the Adidas Samba. It does it, you know. So I pulled a couple sentences. I'm talking about ChatGPT, by the way. Like, you type into the search engine. It gives you, you know, in seconds a whole whatever, it answers your question very deeply for the most part. And so I kind of like took it. But a lot of people script video. You could script a video. It's pretty creepy because if you have enough content, I believe you could just type in, write me a script for a Bryce Kicks fashion video about Air Force Ones or something, and it'll start doing it if you have enough. Mm-hmm. And there's a big creator actually, MKBHD, who reviews tech videos, and he did a whole video about AI and its influence. And basically midway through the video, he was like, and by the way, everything I just said was typed up by ChatGPT. Like the whole explanation that he was giving about what ChatGPT is, how it can impact people, and he's like, and by the way, like everything I just said was none of my
Proves
ideas. Exactly. So I don't know. I haven't used too much of it. I'm kind of scared of like, where things are heading. Or not, maybe not scared, but I'm cautious because it's like there's still a part of me that loves the personal touch to it. And, same with you guys. Like when I grew up, I'm a 94, I'm 28. So if I wanted to go to my friend's house and skateboard with them on my block, I had to go knock on the door. Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, is this person available to hang out? No, they're not available. Okay. Or I had to, so I still sort of yearn for those sort of like connections. And although I meet a lot of people online and I'm kind of a hypocrite as I say all these things, like there is certain technologies where it's too much of a leap where I'm like, okay, like I don't know about all of this just yet. So, but to take a step back, AI, you could do, there's apparently technology coming out where you could do AI generated thumbnails. We've been talking about, you could do AI generated text descriptions, and there's a plugin that you can download where it does AI
video
tags. There's going to be AI video editing, which I will be the first person to get that. See, I'm a walking contradiction, but I will take that because anything that can sort of free up time.
Well, our guy Poncho is a filmmaker.
AI.
He is AI. Poncho, are you AI? He's you were telling me earlier that you've done you were doing your storyboards using AI.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So like, I think it makes things convenient. I think you can use it in a way where it doesn't necessarily create the creative process for you. You still have to have that creative ability, right? Yeah. Like if you put a storyboard, for example, in front of me, I'm not going to know what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But you put a storyboard in front of a filmmaker, they know what they're looking at. They can still spot the difference.
Yeah.
So I think in scenarios where it's like editing, why wouldn't you want to save that time?
Oh my God. Yeah. Because editing, like if people don't understand that how long it does take, you could film a video and the video, the preparation takes an hour, setting up the lights, setting up the framing, and that's being generous. And then you shoot the video, and it also takes another hour, or 2 hours, and that's 3 hours so far. Editing, you edit that video, it's gonna take you 6 hours, 9 hours, and that's like pretty good. There's certain videos that I edit that take much longer. So. Because I like to show like certain videos I show a visual representation of what I'm talking about, whether I find the photos on Google Images or Pinterest or something. And because of people's attention spans, I like to, including my own, but I show up a new image every like 2 seconds or so. So if I do a video that's 10 minutes, that's a lot of videos. But it's just something that I do, and like I can't go back now, and I don't want to go back to where it's like you get lazy and you edit lazy. So, and
talk to us about this attention span problem, because we're seeing more and more of it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, as podcast creators, it's all about the long form. And when someone tells me they're a podcast junkie, I'm like, dope, that's great. I love it. I love hearing it. But the majority of people these days want everything in bite-sized forms.
Yeah.
And that's it. And even then, like even I'm guilty of it. I'll turn on TikTok or IG Reels and I'll swipe. And if the person who appears on the screen in front of me doesn't capture my attention in the first half a second.
Yeah, it's really quick. It's really quick, yeah. People's attention spans because of these apps are getting much shorter for certain things. And, like I said, I still watch podcasts all the time. 3-hour podcast, no problems. I'll just watch when I'm ready to watch it, car rides, that kind of thing. But to your point, you do have to capture people's attention very quickly. And one of the things that I've heard that you are able to, like a little quick tip, once again, content is king. If your content sucks, people are going to leave. But like if you mention like you in the first second of the video, like you won't believe, or like that's a little bit like clickbaity, but like you won't regret. You won't, like for me, like you won't regret buying these affordable sneakers. Boom. Like it's like, okay, like maybe I have time for this, you know what I mean? But apparently there's somebody who's done research. I can't remember. I would reference them if I did. I heard it on the Think Media channel.
It's a good channel.
Great channel. I owe a lot of my tips that I learned from them. Anyways, they were interviewing a guy, and that was one of those quick little tips that he had. Like, if you mention if you say you, because people are like, oh, me? Like,
You're talking to me?
How'd you know? How'd you know?
So there's certain tricks and, tips, having vibrant lighting, good lighting. But I think number one thing that people overlook is like good quality audio. Like these microphones are good quality, right? But if you're muffled or people can't hear you or like the lighting's bad, like those are like basic things that like non-negotiables, good lighting, people should see you. Don't be afraid to get close up. That's another thing. People are attracted to people's faces, right? So there's a couple ways to sort of like trick or to hack. But ultimately, like, what you say has to be meaningful, and if it's valuable, then people will stick to it. So that's kind of one of those things that I've always tried to do, is like try to do valuable content. Not always. It's good to like on TikTok, I like those tournament brackets where it's like, oh, best songs, or like best Drake songs, and you're like, okay, let me review these Drake, stuff like that. It's fun to do. I've heard that whole like you won't believe, or like you should try, or I've heard that's like
you guys should subscribe.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you, on the entrepreneurial side, you said you do a lot of stuff outside of the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
What do you got coming up? What are you working on?
So one of the most difficult things that I'm currently doing right now is I'm trying to build my own clothing line. And it's one of the most challenging things I've ever done, because as much as I love product, I love clothes, I love shoes, when somebody gives you like, okay, the floor is yours, make something nice, make something that people will wear, you're like I don't even know where to begin, you know what I mean? So that's usually one of the most challenging things that I'm doing right now. But it's something that I'm also passionate about. I love to do it. I love to source clothes and, get samples in, and, it's very, very stressful also. But that's, it's the main goal as well, is that like I have something to show, like I have my own, my own income streams. It's like it's another extension of what I do, and ultimately I do it because I enjoy doing it, not because it's not, my brand's not even profitable at this point. So everything that I do is just because I think it's cool, and and it's something that I would wear, and I think other people will like it. So but it is like an extension of my own personal brand, which is excellent. My clothing brand's called More Apparel. Follow me on Instagram if you want to do that. But we have a new drop coming. It's exciting, but also I'm starting to do like freelance or collaborative clothing designing. So previous to this, I think early on in our conversations, there's a guy teaching men's fashion on YouTube. He sort of tapped me on the shoulder, sent me a DM, and was just like, hey, would you be interested in designing like a capsule collection of my clothing brand essentials? And so I was like, yeah, that would be amazing. So we met up in New York and chatted and had like a nice collaborative design experience. And so that'll be coming out in July. And
very cool, man.
Yeah, so I'm starting to do a lot more of that, which is tricky as well, because I don't have any design experience. So there's a whole process of making cool clothes that's very challenging. And I would say that's like one of the more newer things that I'm doing currently.
Yeah.
That's becoming more and more difficult. But also like thinking of the future of the channel, like what do I want this to be? What do I want to do? What are my goals? Goal setting is very important. So I would love to have my own studio one day, my own workspace that I can work out of, and those are all sort of in the pipeline. I just have to sort of visualize it and make it happen and say it out loud, and start working towards making that happen.
So you got like a vision board of some kind that you're...
I have it like in my head, Okay.
Yeah.
I have like some stuff in my notes that I've saved on my app, on my phone, on my iPhone that I've saved.
On your broken screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so on days where none of that's working, like you're just not motivated, you're not feeling it, you get up and you're like, fuck, I don't want to edit, I don't want to film, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I got no creative juices.
Yeah.
How do you push through?
So I'm a big believer that like the mind and the body work together simultaneously, and whenever there's like some type of creative break, it's because, or creative lapse, I would say, it's because they're sort of out of sync. So whenever I start feeling like gloomy, or, you know, like I know that like maybe I haven't been going to the gym enough, or maybe I haven't been eating healthy enough, or something like that, or maybe like there's something in my personal life that I haven't addressed yet that I need to just man up and, you know, tackle. So oftentimes when I have like creative breaks, or that's kind of what I do. So it's like, okay, focus on your on your physical health, because I know the mental health will follow. And so I can say that that's what works for me. But ultimately, sometimes it's like, I've been exercising, I've been eating healthy, my life is good, but like I just can't bring myself to, and it's oftentimes because I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. So as much as I've been saying, you know, to build a good YouTube channel, like people should expect what to see from you, I think that you do have to throw curveballs. You have to take risks. You have to try new, different types of content. And sometimes that does come out of sort of desperation, where you're like, I haven't posted anything. I need to sort of whip something up. Like, what can I do to, you know, throw something, like just do something different? And one of my key favorite ways to doing that is to look at other creators in your niche and both out of your niche, and you know, see what types of videos they're making, and maybe, you know, don't rip it off if it's an original idea, but maybe take a grain from it and like, how can I apply this to my daily life, right? So I mentioned that, you know, for sneaker content, a lot of people do reviews, but people also do a lot of reviews for cell phones and tech reviews, right? Yeah. So maybe you could do like a tech review, see one of their channels, see what they're doing, and maybe put your own spin to it.
So like, there's nothing wrong ultimately with like pulling or like replicating to some extent, or at least using the framework of what other people have created as your base to jump from. Yeah,
and ultimately, this is one of the things that any creator is going to face, is people are going to like copy you, or you know, but you have to realize that like we're all sort of copying each other. Like it's kind of just one of those things that exists. Now, what's not okay is to take somebody's idea and use it verbatim. But I remember when I started, you know, those like classic get ready with me videos where people are like, hey, I'm going to the coffee shop, let's build an outfit. Somebody on TikTok started doing it. I think like it was like Daniel Simmons or Tim DeSant started making those. And then I made one of those videos, and people are like, oh, you just copied them. And I'm like, I liked their idea. I wanted to give my own spin to it. This is a completely different outfit, different clothes. And now that is like the bread and butter of what all of those a lot of fashion creators do, are those get ready. So it's like, everybody's copying each other. So it's not like I'm
now and stuff like
that's like
GRWM.
That's like, that is like a staple of what people do. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know, I would say that would be it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. What a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey. But one thing I want to just reiterate is that, like, I feel very fortunate and lucky because this is all stuff that I love to do. So as much as I complain about, like, people copying or, like, how editing takes a long time, like, it really is something that I'm very passionate about. I love to do. And I would say to other people, like, try to figure out something that you love doing. It could be playing video. You could love playing video games. Well, stream on Twitch, you know, and it's a grind, and you're going to be discouraged, and people are going to tell you that's stupid and that's silly, but you kind of just got to put blinders on and just focus on what you're passionate about doing. And if you haven't figured out what you're passionate about doing, try doing new stuff. Try doing different stuff. Maybe you love kayaking. You never been on the water before yet. You know what I mean?
And vlog yourself on a kayak.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's good to just mix things up and try new things and figure out what you're passionate about. And because another thing that I feel blessed about is that, like, you know, the fashion cycle, spring, summer, you know, winter, fall.
There's always something new.
There's always something new to be talking about. Yeah. So it's good to, that's why it's good to like choose a niche as well that is, you know, helps feed you content, because it's a little bit easier that way for sure.
Okay. Before we end it off, I got to ask you an obvious question here. Okay. Bryce kicks. What are your favorite kicks?
So my favorite shoes.
Top 5.
It changes like the wind, like you wouldn't believe. But I would say one of my favorite shoes of all time. So we'll put this at the one spot, is the Air Jordan 1 Bread. It's just a shoe that I've revered for a long time. It was one of the first shoes that I saved my money for. I was working 2 jobs at the time to be able to afford that shoe. So we'll put that up there. It's hard to like pinpoint it, but favorite shoes of all time, I would say the Air Jordan 4 White Cement, because that was like one of the very first retros that I ever got. Early on, and I was like, I can't believe I have this. Anyways, so that would be up there for sure. I'm gonna have to throw a white on white Air Force One in the mix because that shoe just never goes out of style. I've mentioned it obviously many times in the video so far. What other shoes? And I'm gonna throw in a couple that I don't have but are on that mental vision board that I'm gonna get one day, and that is the Nike Air Yeezy 2 in the black colorway. Glows in the dark midsole. It was just, that shoe was like the it shoe when I was like, I would say like the most passionate about shoes, where I was like, whoa, like it was like a larger than life shoe. So we'll throw that up on there. Let's see. One of my favorite shoes that I have in my collection right now is the New Balance 2002R Protection Pack, the original gray colorway. I wear that all the time. I love New Balance. It's super comfortable. Just goes with a lot of my wardrobe. And then we got to throw another one in there in the 5th spot.
And I think was like 7 at this point, but please go ahead.
I know, I'm like name dropping.
The all black Air Forces?
Yeah. You know what? All black shoes, they remind me of like my high school, because I had to wear a uniform. Yeah. 'Cause I went to Catholic school, so I don't wear a ton of all black shoes. I don't know. I'm kind of stumped right now. You know, I got it. Air Max 95 in the neon colorway, because it's just, I love that shoe. I wanted that shoe so bad. I finally got it a couple years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago when they came out, and I love it. I wear it in the gym. They probably stink because I wear them in the gym. I wear them like, you know, like to get fits off, you know. So
how often would you wear like the number 1, the Jordans? The
Jordans,
if at all.
Those ones, I every shoe that I own I've worn. I'm not even a one to rock, one to stock kind of guy. Like everything that I have I wear, just because it's just who I wear my shoes. I don't. Okay. I used to covet them, put them up on on the thing, wash, wipe them,
or get like 1 or 2 wears and that's it. Then you can resell them, I guess. But
no, I'm the worst reseller in the world, because I would buy shoes and I'd buy them at my size, and then they arrive and I'm like, these are kind of hot. Like I kind of, you know what I mean? Like I want to wear these, and then I wear them and then they're not valuable anymore. So they're a lot less valuable. So, but yeah, I don't know. I wear everything. So
nice.
Yeah.
Bryson, thanks for coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
And we're going to bug you for some more tips on YouTube.
Hey, anytime. More than happy to help. Anyone listening to this, I'm very accessible. So if you have any questions,
where do they find you?
Bryce Kicks on all social media platforms. Yeah. TikTok, YouTube, the whole bit.
Nice. And I like that you said that you're accessible, because a lot of creators tend to shut that door right away. I
remember
a time when you were still starting off and wanted the piece of advice.
Absolutely. I try to respond to all of my YouTube comments as much as I possibly can. I do, same with Instagram, same with TikTok. It can kind of be difficult because, especially on TikTok, sometimes like a video from like 2 years ago will blow up and like I don't see those comments up. Yeah. It's a little bit tricky, but if you have any questions, Bryce Kicks.
Amazing. Absolutely. Bryson, thank you for coming through, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, sharing the journey, sharing the tips. Appreciate that as always. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bryce Kicks, find him on every platform. I don't even know if I'm looking at the right camera at this point. But thank you.
Watch out for the clothing line coming up.
Watch out for the clothing
more apparel, baby.
Dropping. More apparel.
Let's go.
And if you haven't already, and you've made it to this point in the video, please do us the kindness. Subscribe, like, follow, comment, all the works. If it's something negative, spare him. Say it to us. We'll take it. But otherwise, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you, Pancho.